Trump picked him for Attorney General, the former congressman taking himself out of the running to become the nation's top law enforcement official. As NBC News learns, he was accused of not one, but two sexual encounters with a 17-year-old girl. Gates, who was not charged, saying he'd become a distraction. And just in, Mr. Trump's new pick for the role. And Mr. Trump's pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, breaking his silence on Capitol Hill after a police report detailing a sexual assault allegation against him became public. He denies wrongdoing, but is his nomination in jeopardy as well? Also tonight, the storm hitting coast to coast, the first major winter storm of the season hitting the Midwest and bringing desperately needed rain to the Northeast, and the atmospheric river soaking the West Coast. The unexpected twist for actor Jussie Smollett, why his conviction for a hate crime hoax has been thrown out. The dramatic escalation, Russia firing what it says is a new kind of ballistic missile at Ukraine. The missing kayaker, police say, faked his own death, sending a proof of life video, and his escape plan revealed.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome. President-elect Donald Trump's efforts to fill key roles in his new administration hit a big setback today when his embattled choice to become the next Attorney General, Matt Gaetz, withdrew his name from consideration. Gaetz, who immediately resigned his congressional seat after learning of his selection last week, posted on X today that his confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction. Gaetz' chances of confirmation by the Senate have been on rocky ground almost from the start over allegations of illicit drug use and sex with a 17-year-old. Gaetz denies all the accusations, which were the subjects of a now closed House ethics investigation. Tonight, President-elect Trump predicting Gaetz has a wonderful future. Gabe Gutierrez leads off our coverage.
Tonight, President-elect Trump's embattled pick for Attorney General is out. Former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz rocking Washington by withdrawing his name. Posting on social media, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. On Capitol Hill, some Democrats rolling their eyes.
Holy I didn't see that coming.
While some Republicans seeming relieved. Are you surprised that Gaetz dropped out today?
I was surprised by how abruptly it happened.
Two Trump transition sources with direct knowledge of Gaetz' decision tell NBC News that he notified the president-elect earlier today and that it was Gaetz' call. Another source close to Trump says that Gaetz' withdrawal was welcomed by the transition team, adding that the House ethics report started to leak out and there was no way for Matt to make it. Today, President-elect Trump posting, "I greatly appreciate the recent efforts of Matt Gaetz in seeking approval to be Attorney General. He was doing very well, but at the same time did not want to be a distraction for the administration, for which he has much respect." The sudden withdrawal comes just a day after Vice President-elect J.D. Vance accompanied Gaetz to Capitol Hill, sitting for closed-door meetings with GOP senators.
The senator's been giving me a lot of good advice. I'm looking forward to a hearing. Folks have been very supportive.
But pressure has been building on Gaetz for days.
How troubling were the allegations against Gaetz?
I think very troubling.
A growing number of Republican senators were demanding the release of a House ethics report into allegations he paid women for sex, including a 17-year-old, back in 2017. Just today, a source familiar telling NBC News there was allegedly a second sexual encounter with the 17-year-old that included another woman. Gaetz has repeatedly denied the accusations, and a Justice Department investigation into similar allegations ended with prosecutors filing no charges against Gaetz. Tonight, multiple sources tell NBC News at least 5 Republican senators were prepared to vote against Gaetz' confirmation, and he could only afford to lose 3 GOP votes.
Matt Gaetz.
All of this a blow to Trump, who had been looking for someone to shake up the Justice Department, which he blames for launching what he calls partisan prosecutions against him. Just days ago saying he had no second thoughts about the pick.
Are you reconsidering the nomination of Matt Gaetz?
No.
Tonight, it's not clear what's next for Gaetz or his political career.
Apparently, he was aware of reality.
And Gabe, we have just learned who President-elect Trump is naming to replace Gaetz.
Yes, Lester, just moments ago, the president-elect posted on social media that he plans to nominate former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi as his next Attorney General.
All right, Gabe Gutierrez at the Capitol, thank you. And Trump's pick for defense secretary is under new scrutiny tonight after a police report reveals the details of a sexual assault allegation against Pete Hegseth, who denies wrongdoing, and no charges were filed. Ryan Nobles has more on Hegseth's trip to Capitol Hill.
Tonight, President-elect Trump's pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth defending himself after a potential new hurdle in his confirmation fight. NBC News obtaining a police report detailing a woman's allegation he sexually assaulted her.
Did you sexually assault a woman in Monterey, California?
I'll keep this very simple. The matter was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared, and that's probably it.
According to the police report, the woman says she met Hegseth at a hotel where he was speaking in 2017, saying at one point she blacked out, alleging he took her phone and blocked her attempt to leave the room, and said that she remembered saying no a lot. Police investigated and did not file any charges against Hegseth. He said the encounter was consensual. His attorney said Hegseth later paid her to keep her from going public, so his career would not be hurt, and saying Mr. Hegseth is innocent. It was fully investigated by police, and video surveillance as well as multiple eyewitness statements show that she was the aggressor. Hegseth today on Capitol Hill with Vice President-elect Vance, meeting with Republican senators who will decide if he gets the job.
Senator, did you talk to him about the sexual assault allegations?
It's a disgrace that those allegations are nothing but what you said, allegations that are he said, she said. This is a case that has been dismissed.
So are you concerned at all that he did pay her to keep her story quiet?
I don't know the circumstances behind it. I think all those will come out, but I believe his story.
Hegseth is a former Fox News host and decorated combat veteran, but his lack of government experience raising questions among some GOP senators over his qualifications to run the largest federal government agency.
There needs to be legitimate vetting. When I say legitimate, I mean just thorough vetting that the committees do. This is our job.
Two other Trump picks facing new backlash. Tulsi Gabbard, the former Democratic congresswoman and military veteran, picked as the director of national intelligence, slammed by Nikki Haley overnight.
This is not a place for a Russian, Iranian, Syrian, Chinese sympathizer.
A Trump transition spokesperson responding that Tulsi Gabbard is a combat veteran who saw devastation caused by wars championed by people like Nikki Haley. And tonight there's newly revealed audio of Health and Human Services pick Robert F. Kennedy Jr. criticizing Trump supporters 8 years ago.
The way that you build a truly vicious nationalist movement is to wed a relatively small core of belligerent idiots.
RFK Jr. saying, I no longer hold this belief, and I now regret having made those statements.
Ryan, let me back up to Pete Hegseth. Any indications how his meetings there went today?
Yeah, Lester, Hegseth does not appear to be in the same situation as Matt Gaetz, who was forced to withdraw. The Republican senators who met with him believe that he has a path to confirmation. And even though there are some skeptical people in the GOP ranks, there is not a single Republican senator that has come forward to say they will not support him. Lester?
Ryan Nobles tonight, thank you. This evening, tens of millions are in the path of storms, from much-needed rain in the Northeast to a blast of winter weather in the Midwest to a once-in-a-decade atmospheric river that could bring disaster to the Northwest. Here's Steve Patterson.
Tonight, the Northwest recovering from the first of a 1-2 punch after a so-called bomb cyclone slammed parts of Washington state, knocking out power to almost 300,000. In California, wind speeds clocked as high as 98 miles per hour. Now, the second blow, a relentless deluge of rain. A fire hose of moisture has already dumped about 9 inches of rain onto parts of Northern California, with as much as 15 inches expected. 5 feet of snow could fall in the mountains.
Roads aren't in the greatest condition, so you got to be really careful.
Officials now bracing for the possibility of catastrophic flooding and life-threatening mudslides.
Roadway conditions can change very quickly. Weather can change very quickly.
It's one in a series of storms from coast to coast, from the atmospheric river out west to much-needed rain in the Northeast and the first real winter weather mess in the Midwest. In Illinois, coated roads led to spinouts and stranded passengers, while several inches of snow blanketed parts of Ohio. But in the East, the weather is a welcome sight. The region reeling from a dry season spawning historic drought near New York and hundreds of brush fires, including the Jennings Creek fire that torched more than 5,000 acres in New Jersey and New York.
There's no words for it, for almost 3 months now without any steady rain.
A procession of storms sieging coast to coast, bringing relief, worry, or woe, depending on where you live.
And right now, this is where the worry is. All of this nonstop rain has the potential to swell rivers, which can spark flash flooding easily, overwhelming roads, even communities. Lester?
All right, Steve Patterson, thank you. A major twist in a case that once captivated the country. Actor Jussie Smollett claiming he was the victim of a hate crime, then convicted of making it all up. Laura Jarrett with a stunning ruling today overturning that conviction.
The conviction of actor Jussie Smollett tossed out today, nearly 5 years after a jury found him guilty of falsely reporting he'd been the victim of a hate crime. Illinois' highest court finding the state wrongly prosecuting the former star of the hit series Empire in 2021 after prosecutors agreed to drop criminal charges.
If this was the regular Joe down the street, this case would never even have gone to trial.
The case dominating headlines, with Smollett reporting 2 men brutally attacked him in downtown Chicago, yelling racist and homophobic slurs, even tying a noose around his neck, prompting widespread sympathy, until the police arrested 2 brothers who said that Smollett paid them to stage the attack. Smollett then indicted.
And he did this all in the name of self-promotion.
But Smollett maintained he wasn't lying.
I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I have been accused of.
The state's attorney's office soon dropped the charges with a non-prosecution agreement and community service. Kim Fox, who leads that office but recused herself, was criticized at the time, but says what happened next, the appointment of a special prosecutor and a fresh indictment, ultimately leading to Smollett's conviction and sentence of 30 months probation, was clearly wrong.
The politics and the snowball of this case, I think, had people taking positions that were really upending criminal justice law as we know it.
The court today not weighing the evidence against him, but unanimous it would be fundamentally unfair for the state to renege on its deal. The charge is now dismissed, once and for all. Laura Jarrett, NBC News.
Overseas, Russia's President Vladimir Putin announcing that Russia has launched a new missile at Ukraine. Keir Simmons is following this for us, and Keir, this seems to be in response to an American move.
Lester, this was a medium-range ballistic missile described as experimental, capable of traveling at fast speeds over long distances. In Ukraine, pictures show bright flashes in the sky. Putin on television saying it's a response to the US authorizing the firing of long-range rockets into Russia by Ukraine, while the Pentagon said the US was notified briefly in advance. The rocket was not carrying a nuclear warhead, but is nuclear capable. And Putin said Russia reserves the right to strike countries providing Ukraine with weapons used in attacks inside Russia. Putin tonight sending multiple threatening messages. Lester?
All right, Keir Simmons, thank you. And tonight, the International Criminal Court issuing arrest warrants for Israel's prime minister, his former defense minister, and the military chief of Hamas, charging them with crimes against humanity. Raf Sanchez joins us. Raf, what did the court say?
Lester, the court says there are reasonable grounds to believe that Netanyahu and his defense minister used starvation as a weapon of war by blocking humanitarian aid to Gaza. Netanyahu strongly denies that, saying the court's ruling undermines democracy's fight against terrorism. And both the White House and the incoming Trump administration united in condemning the decision. Netanyahu, though, a world leader now wanted for war crimes, and while he's unlikely to face imminent arrest, he could be arrested if he steps foot in any country that's a member of the court, including the UK, France, and Canada. Lester?
Raf Sanchez, thank you. In 60 seconds, found alive. The new video police say is from a man who faked his own drowning on a Wisconsin lake. And almost 30 years after her brutal killing, what JonBenet Ramsey's father tells Savannah Guthrie. New developments in the case of a Wisconsin father of 3 who allegedly faked his death while kayaking and then fled the country. Authorities say Ryan Bogwart sent them a video and said he was safe but wouldn't give his location. They say he also revealed how he did it, involving an inflatable boat, a 70-mile trip on an e-bike, and buses to Canada to catch a plane. He is believed to be in Eastern Europe. And it's one of the most notorious unsolved cases in American history, now with a docuseries shining new light on the murder of JonBenet Ramsey. Her father is sharing his hope that her killer will finally be caught. Here's Aaron McLaughlin.
We want to keep the case alive and in front of people.
Nearly 3 decades after the body of his 6-year-old daughter was found in the basement of the family's Colorado home, John Ramsey, the father of murdered JonBenet, tells today's Savannah Guthrie he believes her killer will be brought to justice.
You still have hope that this can be solved?
I believe it can be solved if the police accept help from outside their system. That's been the flaw for 25 years.
The murder mystery that first captivated the nation 28 years ago, and the conspiracy theories that have haunted the family ever since.
I was told by someone inside the system to get this message to you. They believe you killed your daughter.
Are now the focus of a 3-part Netflix docuseries, which raises new questions about the investigation.
Some people don't think it's ever going to be solved.
Tonight, the Ramsey family tells NBC News they want the Boulder police to bring in outside experts to test key evidence using new technology. In a statement, the Boulder police says it's committed to following up on every lead and continues to work with DNA experts and law enforcement partners until this case is solved.
Today, finding the killer is not going to change my life. I've lost JonBenet. It's not going to bring JonBenet back. I would like to close this chapter.
Aaron McLaughlin, NBC News.
We'll take a break, and then next, the little device that could make all the difference in tracking down your lost luggage. But what flyers need to know if their bags disappear. Next. Millions of Americans will fly this holiday season, but not everyone will arrive with their luggage. Chris Kimura of our NBC Bay Area station has one frustrated flyer story and the new partnership with Apple to help find that lost bag.
For Dan Adams, it was supposed to be
the vacation of a lifetime.
But his first stop in Barcelona was unplanned. The United Airlines baggage office.
One bag came out, second bag came out, third bag came out, and the fourth one didn't.
Locating that fourth bag was supposed to be easy. Dan had dropped an Apple AirTag in it, a $20 to $30 battery-powered Wi-Fi tracker that constantly transmits its location to your smartphone. Dan's AirTag showed the missing bag was nearby, so he told a United agent who went looking.
She came back and said, "No, there's no sign of your bag. Probably somebody took it." I said, "Nobody took it. The AirTag shows that it's right there."
Later, Dan says his AirTag showed his luggage was moving
farther and farther and farther away from Barcelona.
It stopped at an apartment 30 miles outside Barcelona. United didn't dispute Dan's story. It declined to discuss specifics, but told us it's investigating and working with local law enforcement.
Next year, United and 14 other carriers are actually going to begin integrating AirTag data into their baggage tracking systems under a newly announced deal with Apple.
We're seeing less bags mishandled than in previous years.
The federal government's latest airline report card from August shows U.S. airlines collectively transported almost 41 million bags and successfully delivered more than 99% of them on time. Still, Going.com's Katie Nastro recommends snapping photos of your bag anytime you check it.
If you have pictures to sort of go back to, it can be a lot easier to making sure that you're getting the value of your contents back.
As for Dan, United declared his bag missing for good and paid him for his loss.
I just want people to know what happened to me so it doesn't happen to them.
Chris Kimura, NBC News, San Jose, California.
And that's Nightly News for this Thursday. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other.